prepare for a significant electricity disruption.
On December 5th, 2023, the Deputy Prime Minister of the United Kingdom startled the world with an intriguing statement, prompting millions to fear an imminent massive power outage. What prompted the sudden alert to the UK population, urging immediate preparation? And what could possibly trigger such an event capable of disrupting the foundation of our civilization? Ponder this: our modern existence relies heavily on electricity, and a warning from a key global player suggests a potentially cataclysmic event. The cause? Unfortunately, it appears to be a cosmic entity beyond our control, our very own life-sustaining sun. Welcome to the Spacey Saga channel. Long before any known civilizations, pagan peoples in Northern Europe danced harmoniously around fires in the pitch-black night, celebrating a sacred moment believed to mark the renewal of nature's spirits. An ancient ritual steeped in belief, but what could have driven them to believe in such a phenomenon? Those pondering this question need only look upward and witness the mesmerizing sight of vibrant band dancing across the sky. No one knows precisely how it formed or where it came from, yet its beauty is so divine that they associate it with the spirits of nature, attributing sanctity to it. In truth, their approach isn't entirely misguided, as throughout ages, this source of light has been worshipped as a deity and later used to symbolize the ultimate creator, none other than our sun. High-energy particles from the sun collide with our planet's magnetic field, directing them towards the upper layers of the atmosphere, where they energize the gases present. This process causes electrons in the gas to transition to higher energy levels, emitting photons as they return to lower energy states. These emitted photons are responsible for the magnificent colors we see: red or green when interacting with oxygen, and blue or purple when interacting with nitrogen. The scientific explanation is remarkably straightforward, isn't it? Yet, thousands of years ago, people mistook it for divine signs or supernatural phenomena, akin to spirits visiting the earth. While the aurora phenomenon may not be supernatural, it remains extraordinary for those who witness it. However, despite its serene appearance, it serves as a reminder that our planet is fiercely protecting us from a destructive force. If Earth were to lose this battle, it would signify the end of our civilization as we know it, and perhaps even the extinction of all life on this planet. In September 1859, British astronomers Richard Christopher Carrington and Richard Hodgson observed significant black spots forming on the surface of the sun during their ongoing observations. Remarkably, these spots were abundant. The phenomenon of black spots on the sun's surface actually corresponds to regions of intense local magnetic activity. Now, for those who may not know, let me provide a brief explanation. Our sun is a plasma structure composed entirely of gases, lacking a solid surface. Layers of gases are compressed and held together by an extraordinary gravitational force at high temperatures, allowing fusion reactions to occur. This process, known as fusion, involves lighter gases combining to form heavier ones, generating unimaginable levels of energy and heat. Due to the chaotic movement of gases, the sun lacks a single large magnetic field like our Earth's. Instead, it has thousands of constantly forming and dissipating magnetic fields. These sunspots are regions where irregular magnetic fields intersect, typically resulting in significant energy bursts that propel high-speed jets of material into space. Here's what happened exactly in 1859. Our astronomers, as they turned their telescopes towards the sun, witnessed the sun turning its dark spots towards Earth. Then, suddenly, it happened: a massive coronal mass ejection (CME), where the sun expelled an incredible amount of material into space from its surface at tremendous speed. The distance between our planet and our star is about 150 million kilometers, and typically these mass ejections reach Earth within a few days, depending on their speed. But this time was different. The eruption traveled at an astonishing rate, reaching Earth in just 17.6 hours. Faced with this immense force, it was impossible for our small planet's magnetic field shield to withstand it. Usually, we see the effects of such events in the Earth's polar regions, indicating that the magnetic shield is functioning properly. This is because the Earth's spherical shape naturally directs magnetic waves towards the poles, where they interact with the atmosphere. However, this time the ejection was so powerful that it was observed even in the nearly equatorial Caribbean islands. In other words, the magnetic field was knocked out. We conducted computer simulations of this phenomenon. Typically, during a standard coronal mass ejection, Earth's magnetic field reacts predictably, offering us protection. However, during the Carrington event, things took an unprecedented turn. The impact was so powerful that the atmosphere, saturated with highly charged particles, began to radiate like a fluorescent lamp. In the aftermath, gold miners in the Rocky Mountains mistook the resulting glow for the break of dawn, starting their day as usual. Meanwhile, in Northwest Europe, people could read their newspapers outdoors well into the evening, thanks to the unexpected brightness. The effects of the event were even documented as far away as Japan, China, and Cambodia. For those wondering about the most extreme consequences of such an event, they would be surprised to learn just how mistaken they are. Due to the overwhelming breach of the magnetic field, highly energized particles began to rain down on Earth, leading to chaos. At that time, electricity was still a budding technology, with the most advanced infrastructure being the telegraph network. Between September 1st and 2nd, as the planet was bombarded, telegraph instruments worldwide began to catch fire and explode. Sparks flew along electric cables, causing them to melt and burn. Despite urgent orders to shut down all electrical and telegraph infrastructure globally, we were not fast enough. Within those 2 days, many electronic devices that remained operational were completely destroyed. The atmosphere was so charged with electricity that even if devices were unplugged, they continued to function for a while. Nature had manifested what Nikola Tesla had dreamed of: free energy flowing wirelessly worldwide. However, the difference was that this power was uncontrolled and indiscriminately destroyed any equipment in its path. Following the chaotic 2 days under the crimson-hued sky caused by the interaction of particles with the atmosphere, the magnetic field gradually regained its strength, restoring balance to our world. During that era, the electronic infrastructure sustained significant damage relative to its scale, but due to its limited prevalence, repairs were swift. However, this event painfully underscores a harsh reality: our sun, which has nurtured life on Earth for billions of years, possesses the power to thrust us back into the Stone Age at any moment, and there is nothing we can do to prevent it. This sobering truth brings us back to the statement made by the Deputy Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Once again, the world finds itself facing a scenario akin to the events of 1859, with all technological infrastructure at risk, reminiscent of the global quarantine situation during mega-coronal mass ejections. In fact, it's not a new phenomenon for our planet. Through deep polar drilling and analysis of ice cores, we've discovered evidence of massive events occurring between 2000 and 1000 BCE, during what we commonly refer to as the Flood era. Additionally, between 5000 and 7000 BCE, intensive solar storms were identified through similar analyses. These events are just a few examples of the significant occurrences our planet has experienced over time. However, they're not quite like the Flood era, which was truly extraordinary. We've also learned of similar events occurring around 900 CE through the examination of tree ring anomalies. Our planet undergoes periods of variability, and such events are not uncommon. However, There's been a significant change between those times and today. Humanity has discovered electricity and created technology. The electrically charged particles in solar storms seek out conductive materials, a fundamental law of physics, of course. Currently, our planet is covered in millions of kilometers of copper electrical cables. In the event of a solar storm of the magnitude of the Carrington event, or a larger coronal mass ejection, the consequences would be unimaginable. You wouldn't find such scenarios even in a blockbuster movie. The unprotected infrastructure would be overloaded with excess energy, causing transformers to ignite and explode. The ionosphere would become so heavily charged with electricity that radio broadcasts would be drowned out by static. Independent radio communication infrastructure, not reliant on satellites, would become unusable due to extreme interference. Radar systems would fail, leading to the shutdown of all air traffic systems. Indeed, it must be so, because if caught in such an ejection while aboard an aircraft, you would receive the equivalent of several years' worth of radiation exposure in just a few hours due to traversing the upper and less protected layers of the atmosphere. This would pose serious health risks, including a significantly increased likelihood of cancer. Pause those who exclaim, "Oh no," for the disaster is merely starting. Currently, there are approximately 8,000 active satellites orbiting our planet, facilitating everything from internet connectivity to telecommunications infrastructure. Among those most severely affected by such an event would be the nearly defenseless satellites orbiting in space. Thousands would see their circuits instantly fried, rendering them unusable. Imagine the impact: almost all communication systems would collapse, and the backbone of global supply chains, ships and cargo planes, would be immobilized. With communication and GPS data from satellites down, they'd be unable to move, triggering an immediate food crisis. Isn't it obvious? Of course not. But the final blow is yet to come. After being bombarded with intense energy for several days, the ionosphere becomes incredibly charged, stretching the Earth's magnetic field out into space like a taut whip. Eventually, it snaps back violently, releasing all the accumulated energy towards Earth. This is the final blow. Following this event, it's not just cables and connected devices that are affected. All electronic devices, both in infrastructure and superstructure, could suffer damage depending on the accumulated energy. Pumps supplying water to cities, generators, radios, phones, everything plunges into darkness. And contrary to what you might think, this is not a simple power outage. According to recent studies, it would take 10 to 15 years for the global electrical infrastructure to return to its former state after such an event. Of course, this process would be faster in developed countries, but even there, the anticipated disruption cycle is analyzed to be at least several months long. Of course, infrastructure repair is just one aspect. When you consider the vast array of electronic devices from planes and cars to phones and satellites that would become useless, it becomes clear how long it would take for humanity to return to its former state. During this period, imagine the fate of our entirely digital dependent systems, such as the banking system. Currently, over 80% of the world's money exists only in digital form without electricity. What happens to your money? It's apparent that a humanity that relies on digital infrastructure and lacks electricity would not recover in just 5 or 10 years. If such an event were to occur, and we were caught unprepared, there would be no turning back. It could truly spell the end of civilization as we know it. Some may consider these scenarios as remote possibilities or extreme claims. However, as recently as July 2012, the largest coronal mass ejection detected in the last century narrowly missed Earth by just 9 days. If it had struck us, it was estimated that at best 2 billion people would be without electricity for months. Just imagine 2 billion people without power, food, or water. No force or economy could withstand the movement of 2 billion people striving to survive. It was pure luck that the world narrowly escaped this catastrophe, with just a 9-day difference. So let's revisit the event mentioned at the beginning of the video. Why did the Deputy Prime Minister of the United Kingdom mention our expectation of a major solar eruption in 2025 and 2024? What does this mean? Well, our sun has natural cycles, known as solar minimum and solar maximum cycles. For instance, the previous solar maximum period, when the sun's surface becomes more active and eruptions increase, was in 2014. We know that the next peak is expected around 2025, but recently, the sun has been exhibiting solar maximum activities faster than predicted. One of the most concerning anomalies is the enormous area, equivalent to 60 times the size of Earth, currently observed on the sun's surface. This abnormality occurred a year before the expected solar maximum, raising questions about its cause. After all the events we've discussed, has humanity taken any precautions against such a scenario? Fortunately, the answer is yes. In 2006, NASA launched the Stereo spacecraft, designed to monitor solar activity continuously. Additionally, another satellite called ACE monitors the intersections of the Sun's and Earth's magnetic fields, providing early warnings of potential Carrington-like events. However, don't relax just yet. The window for the satellite to warn us is only 30 minutes to an hour before an event occurs. In the worst-case scenario, we would have just about an hour to shut down the entire world's infrastructure, land all aircraft in the sky, and put all operational satellites into protection mode. After that, all we could do is wait. This way, the aim is to minimize the damage by preventing a complete infrastructure collapse, but even with these precautions, we're unsure of the full extent of damage infrastructure would sustain. Perhaps we'd have to go without electricity for a few weeks or months, but compared to a decade-long blackout, it's something most people would willingly endure. In short, solar flares will continue to pose one of the greatest dangers to humanity as long as the sun continues to shine. However, by constantly monitoring the sun with our technology, we're taking as many precautions as possible against this threat. Individually, you can also take measures by keeping some candles, solar-powered chargers, power banks, and canned goods at home, just in case. While I won't suggest building a bunker under your house, it's always wise to have such items on hand, especially considering that who live in a country prone to solar flares and earthquakes. After all, the next 2 years are during the solar maximum period, so it's better to be safe than sorry. However, no matter how much we take individual and national precautions, the celestial body we're talking about is the Sun, which is 1.3 million times the volume of Earth. Every second, it produces energy equivalent to 630,000 times the energy consumed by the entire world in a year. When we consider this, perhaps we can take small measures against coronal mass ejections, but if an event like the one in 2000 BC were to occur again, then I shudder to think what would be left of us. Humanity once experienced that indescribable devastation, and pre-flood civilizations as we know them were wiped out. However, no matter how much we take individual and national precautions, the celestial body we're talking about is the Sun, which is 1.3 million times the volume of Earth. Every second, it produces energy equivalent to 630,000 times the energy consumed by the entire world in a year. When we consider this, perhaps we can take small measures against coronal mass ejections, but if an event like the one in 2000 BC were to occur again, then I shudder to think what would be left of us. Humanity once experienced that indescribable devastation, and pre-flood civilizations as we know them were wiped out. While preparing this video, another intriguing conspiracy theory came to mind. Currently, almost all satellites monitoring the Sun in space belong to the United States. If they receive information about such an eruption first, what if they decide not to share this information with the rest of the world? They could shut down their own electrical infrastructure for just 1 hour, allowing them to watch the entire world's power grid collapse. Then, while the planet is plunged into complete darkness, the only place where the lights continue to burn could be America. Without firing a single shot, they could effectively seize control of the entire world. This is why technological advancement is crucial. In 2024, we need to take measures against real threats like these. We need to develop technologies that enable us to take these precautions, and we need to be independent in this regard. Otherwise, we'll always depend on others to protect us from such threats, which means we'll always be subject to their rules. In short, we'll never break free from the yoke. Thank you all for watching the video. It was a topical issue, and I wanted to address it before misinformation spreads. Please consider subscribing to the channel for more content like this and share the videos with your friends. Take care until we meet again next video.